Hi everyone, my name is Josie and I'm a youth librarian at the Kansas City Public Library. I am so excited you've joined me for a Storytime Snack today. Now, you probably have heard this already, but April is National Poetry Month. And I chose this book, Daniel Finds a Poem, which was written and illustrated by Misha Archer, because in this book, a little boy tries to figure out what a poem is. And we're going to find out that it can look and sound many different ways. So, Daniel finds a poem. Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. He's friends with them all. On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new. It's a sign on the park gate that reads, "Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock. And there's the sign. And Daniel looks at it, kind of confused, and he says, "What is poetry? What is poetry?" He looks up in surprise when he hears Spider say, "To me, poetry is when the morning dew glistens." The morning dew on her spider web looks like poetry to Spider. On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree. He sees Squirrel. "Squirrel, do you know what poetry is?" I wonder if Squirrel's answer will be different. "Poetry is when crisp leaves crunch," Squirrel tells him. So the sound of crispy, crunchy leaves sounds like poetry to Squirrel. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. "Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is?" And there's Chipmunk looking back at Daniel. "Poetry? Poetry is a home with many windows in an old stone wall." So poetry feels like Chipmunk's home. On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind carry it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. "Excuse me, Frog, what is poetry?" "Poetry," says Frog, "is a cool pool to dive into." So the cool, splashing water is what Frog thinks about poetry. On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. "Hello, Turtle. I have a question. Do you know what poetry is?" Now, Turtle says, "I think poetry is sun-warmed sand." Old Turtle thinks the nice warm sand is what poetry is. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds Cricket in the shade of the slide. There he is looking down at Cricket. When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with music. Is this poetry to you, Cricket? Singing at twilight when the day is done? Indeed it is, Daniel. So poetry sounds like music to Cricket. That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a who. Leaning from his window, he calls to Owl. "Owl, what is poetry?" "Oh, poetry," says Owl. "Poetry is the bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go." "Good night, dear Daniel," she whispers. and flies off into the night. On Sunday, the sun wakes up Daniel. He is happy when he remembers it's Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, says Daniel, and I have a poem. He spent all week studying poetry. I wonder what he's going to come up with. He stands in front of the crowd and he says, morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in an old stone wall. Cool pools to dive in, sun-warm sand to lie in. Singing at the twilight when the day is done. Bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. So he took all of the things the animals thought about poetry and he put it together into one beautiful poem about nature. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me. To me too, says Dragonfly. So all the animals describe poetry, and Daniel found his own poetry in the beautiful reflection on the pond. All right, thank you for listening to that story with me. I hope you liked Daniel's poem. Now, families, poetry can be tricky with young ones, but one of the best ways to introduce it to them is through nursery rhymes. So I thought we would do one together today. And we'll do the Itsy Bitsy Spider. I bet you've heard this one before. So let's get out those spider fingers. And we'll start like this. The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the garden spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. So the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. So if we did the itsy bitsy spider, let's do the great big spider. Can you do that with me? Here we go. The great big spider climbs up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. So the great big spider climbed up the spout again. And that is a song you can do over and over again with your family, just changing it up a little bit. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today for this Storytime Snack. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at KC Library Youth to find great new videos. Have a great day.